There are people in this world who cast on a project, finish the project, then cast on the next new project. I am unfortunately not one of those people, which is why I have a whole video on a graveyard of whips, UFOs, whatever you want to call it, unfinished projects, works in progress. I've got a ton of them, and it is because for the life of me cannot bring myself to finish a project before I cast on the next one. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Holly. I'm with Suave Knits. Thank you so much for joining me today. So we're gonna take a tour through all of the projects that I have sitting around, and I'm going to be ranking them on a scale of 1 to 10. How likely am I going to finish this project in the next 3 months? I'm saying 3 months because I know if I don't put a timestamp on it, I'm going to give everything a 10 because I'm unrealistic. I'm going to say, yes, I'm going to finish every single one of these projects someday, but how real is that? So we're going to say 3 months. How likely am I to pick up this project again and finish it? The first project I have for you is actually tragically the sweater that I have on. This is my Possum pullover, and on the back, she's not finished. I am not a huge fan of the embroidery part, even though that's like arguably the most fun part of the sweater. I just like, it gets so boring. So odds that I finish this in the next 3 months, I'm gonna say like 8 out of 10. And the reason I'm not giving it a 10 out of 10 is because we're entering spring, summer. So I'm not gonna be able to wear this really anyway in the next 3 months. So, and I can take all of the photos because the front is finished. So there's really no motivation for me to finish it except for like the gratification of knowing it's done. So that's why it's an 8, because I feel like I really do want to finish it, but also like the motivation not super there. If you like this sweater, I'm actually running a test knit soon. The test knit application closes, oh my goodness, it's like March 23rd. Something like that. It'll be linked below in the description. I'm looking for testers, and this pattern is all worsted weight, unlike my original, which is a bulky weight. I feel really proud of this pattern. I've made a lot of changes. I've learned a lot more about inclusive sizing, which I thought I knew when I published my first pattern, but I was not using Craft Yarn Council's like standards. Now I am. So this should be very size inclusive. I'm including all cats and all dog faces in one pattern this time instead of like 2 separate patterns. So I'm just very excited for it. So if you're interested in testing this, please check out the link below. And that's all I'll say about this. So next up, I have actually this big old ball. Oops, dropping things. This is what was supposed to be the cardigan version of the sweater that I have on, and I'm scrapping the whole thing. It's not that I don't like it, it's just that I'm completely revamping that pattern, and instead of diving right into the cardigan version, I want to make sure that the pullover is perfect. So instead of knitting my friend, this one's going to be for my friend, instead of knitting her a cardigan and jumping into that one too soon, I'm actually going to redo this one as a pullover. So yes, it's getting revamped. I'm changing up some of the colors a little bit, and I think it'll be much better like this instead of having like my attention on 2 separate patterns at the same time, if that makes sense. I've also like never done a cardigan pattern, so like it just doesn't feel like it's the right time to just kind of jump into that. So this one is a 0 out of 10, obviously, because I know like my next step for this is to literally take it out. So talking about the Possum series, and here's the thing, I love the pun like paw awesome, but it kind of sounds like a possum, like the animal, like possum. But I'm gonna keep the name. But if you hear like opossum versus possum, it's paw-awesome sweater. Okay, so the next one in that series, because like I went all out and I did the math for inclusive sizing for the pullover, the cardigan, like all the math is done on the cardigan. I just haven't typed out the pattern word for word yet. And then I also did a kid's version. And obviously not finished yet, but like look how cute the little paw prints are. And like this one also has 3 interchangeable motifs that mirror the adult version. They're just like a teeny bit smaller. So this one I'm definitely gonna finish. It's just in the next 3 months. That's where it gets a little tricky. I'm gonna give this one a 4 out of 10. Just because I really don't know what the next 3 months are gonna hold. Like 3 months from now, I'll be like graduating medical school and like getting ready to start my residency. So it's really hard to say that like this is gonna be a priority in the next 3 months. So this pattern is a little bit different from my puppy dog junior, and then also my next whip, which is the kitty cat junior. I ran a full test knit for these, finished the pattern, but it was just like a bad time. I was like on my surgery rotation, things were tough. Like I believe like half my test knitters knit with one gauge, the other half knit with the other gauge, and like it was just a mess. And I'll say it wasn't a mess because of my test knitters. It was like on me because like I couldn't keep up with the changes, and like I don't know kid sizing very well. So I feel like this is one that I'll probably never finish. Definitely not in the next 3 months, but like I keep holding on to these because I'm like, maybe there's a way that like I can edit the pattern to like make it work. But then like I have this new pattern that I feel like has a good gauge and like actually fits better. So it's just kind of like a TBD. So those are all we'll sees, but 0 out of 10 for the next 3 months. Okay, so next I have my Coast to Coast wrap from 2 of Wands. Here it is. I haven't made a ton of progress, but I'm in like a knit along group. So I feel like I'm super motivated to finish it on time just so I can like actually show off my finished piece like in the knit along group. And it's like a really fun knit. I've never done like mosaic color work before, and I just feel like it's so easy and like kind of mindless to do. So it actually has been like a lot of fun to knit. I knit like the first part of this just while watching like Daisy Jones and the Six. So when the new episodes come out, I'm probably gonna do like another chunk of the wrap. But yeah, it's like super fun, and like I feel bad because I've missed I think the first 2 of the like knit along group calls. So I need to join the next call so I can get like a little bit more motivation. But odds that I finish this in the next 3 months, very high because the knit along ends at some point in the next 3 months. So I'm gonna give myself a 9 out of 10 on this. There's always a chance that I don't finish because I have a lot of like other projects I'm doing for like yarn companies right now. But this one I feel like has been so fun, and I love that I'm doing like this neutral palette. I never really do like neutrals, so I just feel like it's gonna be great to wear, and I'm just really excited about it. Okay, so the next 3 projects I talked a lot about in my organizing my yarn video. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about these because you've probably already seen them in some capacity. The first one is my Bobby Bomber. This is the first panel, also my first time doing buttonholes, which I'm really excited about. I love cables. I don't love cables as much as I love color work, obviously. Like, I'm always doing color work. So that's kind of why this has taken a little bit of a backseat. But once I like get into the pattern, it's just like really easy to crank out. So I feel like odds that I finish this in the next 3 months, it kind of depends. It depends on like how intense my test knit ends up being. It depends on how all of my like other yarn obligations kind of go. And then it also depends on if I finish my coast to coast wrap. So I'm giving this one like a 5. It kind of depends. If other things go smoothly, then this one will get worked on. But it is kind of a lower score because I just feel like it's not a super huge priority to finish right now. And also like it is like a heavier yarn, so I'm not going to be wearing it in the summer anyway. So we'll see, kind of a question mark on that one. Also, the author of that pattern has a book coming out soon, and like I'm so obsessed with all of the pieces in that book that I'm definitely going to buy it. So be on the lookout for that. Whenever the book comes out, I will link it in the description below, because it's like, again, I love cables and it looks like the perfect little cable book. The next piece I have, which I talked about in my last video too, is my Augustine's number 17. It is so close to being finished. Like, this is so close to being done, and I should just suck it up and finish it. So this one's a hard rank for me because I'm like, ooh, I'm just like not feeling it, but like it would probably only take me a few hours to just like knock it out. So I don't know. Talking about it now, I'm like, maybe we give it a 7. But like, again, it's also like the Bobby Bomber where like it depends on how all of my other obligations go first. And then we'll get back to this piece. So for that reason, same score. We'll give it a 5. It depends. And then the last for my cleaning video was the heart cardigan that I was designing, and it's a low score for me. It's gonna be like a 1 out of 10 because I don't think I'm gonna finish it in the next like 3 months, if ever. I hate to say that. It's just I was so excited about it, but then like I started doing some duplicate stitch on the hearts and I was like, I hate this. Because you know, I like don't even really like doing the duplicate stitch on my pet faces or like the embroidery, so then to do it on like this heart cardigan that I was working on that I wasn't even planning on doing a pattern for, it like I kind of just lost steam on it. And also I was going through a phase where I was like wearing this cardigan that I made just like to bed, so it was just like this big blanket that I was always wearing, and then I like stopped wearing the cardigan, so then I was like, why am I making a second one? So it's a low score, but I want to finish it someday. That's why I'm not just like scrapping it. I think like there's potential there, and someday I might be like, yeah, thick chunky yarn, I'm like ready for it. So I'm keeping it, and it's a TBD. Okay, so my last project is the one that makes me the most sad. It is my Alone Together sweater from Larky Bagger. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her name correctly, aka the it girl of knitting. So this is what I have kind of left of it. I actually finished the entire sweater, and this was the sweater that got me back into knitting. So I have been knitting on and off for most of my life. I had a big knitting phase back when I was in college, and I had started like a knitting club, and like I was really into it, and then I got into medical school and like just kind of like fell off from it. Obviously still had like all of my supplies and everything, but I saw a picture of this sweater on Reddit and I was like, I want to make that. So I went to like her Instagram stories, which was where she originally had the pattern. It was like free. So I tried it without a gauge. You know where this is going. And the body of the sweater was like one panel of the sweater was enough to wrap around my entire body. And I had spent so much time on this sweater because, you know, I had already done like all of this beautiful color work. You can see it's like every single color change, I was cutting the yarn, tying it, cutting the yarn, tying it. It honestly looks more like the knit edit type style. It doesn't really look that much like the Alone Together sweater. But But that's why I had so much fun with this piece. It literally felt like I was making art, and I had actually never seen the knit edit, so I felt like, ooh, I just invented my own yarn technique, which is like, obviously it had been done before, but it felt new to me. It felt fresh. I was really proud of how it looked, and then I held it up to my body and I was like, what have I been doing? So instead of taking it all out, I tried to steek it, which is where you like do this weird technique where you can like cut it in half. So all you need to know from the story is that it turned into a mess, and I just trucked on. I was like, I'm just gonna do it, and I did the sleeves. I felt like the sleeves were all wrong. The only thing that I feel like I did right was this collar. I'm obsessed with the collar, but I'm gonna take it out because the body doesn't fit right. Like, none of it fits right. So I've been in the process of like taking all of the yarn apart so that I can redo the sweater in the way that it deserves to be done. And I know once I like take it all out and get the yarn going, it will be an easy process to like re-knit this. And I think I'm just gonna do like a top-down sweater or something like easy. But taking apart the body is gonna be incredibly difficult because of the steeking. So it's like I already tied so many knots in this yarn, but now I'm gonna have like all these knots from where I literally cut the whole piece in half. So it's just a mess, and that's why it makes me sad, because like this was the piece that got me knitting again, and I can't even like wear it and be like proud of that fact. So that's why I'm really motivated to finish it, but I highly doubt I'm gonna finish it in the next 3 months. Like, if I'm being honest with myself, with all the other obligations I have, all the other projects, this one is taking a back seat. But honestly, now the more I look at it, I'm like, maybe there is a way for me to salvage this. I don't know, like maybe I'll just try it on and see if it just like, if there's a way that I can make the body fit. I don't know, like now I'm getting inspired. Maybe I should bump the score up a little bit. But like, it's so pretty. It's so pretty, and I just want it to fit right. And I don't know, maybe I can work some magic on it. I mean, I thought I was working magic when I literally cut it in half, but like, I don't know. I've learned so much about knitting the past few years, even though I was experienced before medical school and like getting back into it in the second wave and like making my knitting Instagram. I feel like I've still learned so much about like constructing garments and like making my own patterns that maybe there's a chance that I could save it. I don't know. Like, we'll see. I'm gonna bump up the score a little bit, maybe make it like a 4 now. Because now I'm like, maybe today after I'm done filming, I'll just take a look. We'll see. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? Alrighty, friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this tour through my graveyard of whips and UFOs, whatever you want to call it. I like UFOs better, but I feel like people don't use that term as widely. But I think I got all of them. I feel like I'm missing a few, but I know I took out a lot of projects when I like cleaned out my yarn. So yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want more vloggy type videos like this, please let me know. And if you want to apply to test knit the sweater, also please let me know via the link in the description below. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!